Yesterday was an extremely wild day if you were a Scream fan, man. Let me tell you, the news was just happening nonstop. So, if you've been familiar with Scream 7, you know all the controversies and whatnot. And I'm not going to linger too hard on that because I do want to theorize and try to speculate what's going on in the movie. But man, yesterday was a day. So, it all started whenever we got the confirmation of who's going to be playing Sydney's husband in Scream 7. And this was not on my bingo card. It got announced that Joel McHale, if you don't know, a lot of people remember him from Community. Let me pop him up here. I remember him from denying Aunt May that loan. That's why he's a villain in my book. And it was before he got his glorious hair plugs. He denied Aunt May that loan. Shame on you, man. Shame on you, Joel. But I saw this and I was like, he's gonna be Sydney's husband? Bro, what a weird choice. Now, there's so many angles. This is like the one, though, this is the one piece of Scream 7 news where both sides, whether you're someone who wants to boycott, hate this movie, which all in your right to, or if you're someone that's excited and is looking forward to, which I think you're also in your right to, this beloved franchise, both those sides who have been at war since this movie started, they got together and both hated this news. Nobody was happy. For the main reason is because we all thought Sydney's husband would end up being Mark Kincaid from Scream 3. He was the detective there, and if you remember in Scream 5, when Sydney takes the phone call from Dewey and she's, pushing her stroller and all that, he's like, "Oh, just taking a stroll with my girl, and Mark's with the kids." And we're like, "Oh, name drop Mark, that Mark Kincaid, they officially got married. Awesome, cool." And even if you saw interviews with Radio Silence, the people who made Scream 5 and 6, they confirmed. They said, "Oh yeah, we meant that to be Mark Kincaid. That's who it's supposed to be." And even the actor, Patrick Dempsey, who was also in the movie Thanksgiving, he was in interviews just a couple months ago saying, "We are in negotiations. I'm looking at the script. We are supposed to be married. We'll see what happens." Looks like that did not go through. So instead, Sydney married another Mark, still named Mark, but this one is Mark Evans. So I guess that would also make Sydney Evans, not Sydney Prescott. We'll see if she keeps the Prescott name or not. Okay, I'm not even mad that it's not Mark Kincaid. If you want me to be honest with you, I never loved the idea of him being Sydney's husband. Not that he's a bad choice, but it did feel a little fan servicey. I'm like, they didn't really even seem to have a love connection in Scream 3. They could have liked each other, but we never saw that developed. In Scream 4, there was no mention of her having kids and things like that, or even being with him. Like, to me, it's not even a bummer that he's not ends up being the husband. To me, the bummer is this guy just that doesn't fit to me. Trying to picture Joel McHale, as Sydney's husband, I don't know, that doesn't fit right to me. Like, and again, this is no hate to the actor because he's funny in Community. I've seen him in a couple seasons there. Some people find him charming, but I just do not see him as the guy Sydney ends up marrying, especially when you look at all of Sydney's boyfriends. Like, my favorite one is Scream 2. That was the perfect guy for Sydney, and that's who I always envisioned someone like Cindy ending up with, is like kind of like a macho smart guy, a little Billy, a little Mark in there. He would have been perfect, but Derek unfortunately bit the bullet. I'm like, Joel, okay, I guess that could be Sydney's husband, but I was like, that's a weird choice. Okay, now, so there was a lot of discourse. Yeah, again, like I said, both fans of Scream 7 and people who hate Scream 7 were laughing. We're like, "I don't like this. I hate this." Da, 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 da. And there was a lot of negativity. But there was also some theories I want to get into immediately, like what happens with anybody. Whoever gets added to a Scream movie, there's always a ton of people who go, "Oh, that's the killer. That's the killer. I solved it." They say that with every casting announcement. Of course, if you say everybody's the killer, you're bound to get it right. I don't think this guy's going to be the killer. There's definitely potential there because they tend to get the bigger stars end up playing Ghostface or whoever's kind of most popular in the cast. And Joel has had a long career, is recognizable for all intents and purposes. He is kind of one of the bigger stars. He could end up being it, but I don't think he's gonna be Ghostface. Because one, he's supposed to be the husband that Sydney has kids with. So they have been married. And if, like they're saying, Sydney has a teenage daughter who's 16, 17. They've been married a long time, had multiple kids. If you decide to make him Ghostface after having multiple kids with Sydney, teenage daughter, all that, then it is just for shock value. And that is the dumbest thing. Because, again, as much as I like Scream 5 and 6, there were some kind of dumb writing choices in those movies. Like in Scream 6, one of the killers fakes their own death. And we're just supposed to pretend like the police department was okay with a missing body. We're like, hey, isn't that girl dead? Shouldn't she be in our morgue or buried or some sort of autopsy done? I think she's the killer because her body's not here. And we saying she's, it's just like, it's shock value. You pretended to kill her on screen, and then she ends up being one of the ghost faces. Oh, shocking. Do it right. Like, I think Jill from Scream 4, best in terms of shock value and having a good motive to be Ghostface. I cannot think of a good motive for a husband of 15, 16 years with multiple kids. All of a sudden, yeah, this is the year I go Ghostface. This is the year. But hey, if I'm wrong, I'll be happy to hear the motive. But if it's only for shock value, dumb. It's on the same level of when people say Sydney should be the killer this time. You shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay. But I do think he's an obvious choice to be dead. Now that it's not Mark Kincaid and he has no legacy connection, and he's also, his role, his stereotype as an actor is charming and funny. That's what he does best. That's who he's definitely going to play in the movie, too. He's going to be the husband that's joking around, that's the funny dad, and that's probably how he got Sydney to marry him, is, making Sydney laugh and all that. So he's going to be probably a charming guy, and we're going to grow to like him. And then it's going to be heartbreaking to see the funny, goofy dad get killed by Ghostface. And that's only going to motivate Sydney to want to stop this Ghostface, protect her children, and honor her husband. Definitely think that's what's going to happen. The only other thing is Ghostface could try and trick Sydney that he is Ghostface, which is something that has happened in the past. If you remember her college boyfriend, Derek, Sydney was trying to save him, and then Ghostface is like, he's my partner. And Sydney was like, what? And she believed it. It'd be funny if they do a twist where she's like, this guy's married with me 16 years. He's not Ghostface. I don't believe you. Anyways, so I think that's what's going to happen is he's obviously dead. He could be the opening kill. Like, Sydney could be the opening kill, and the only person that dies is him while Sydney and the kids get away. That'd be a cool way to start Scream 7 with, the death of the husband. So to me, he's obviously dead, and he's going to be the charming, funny guy. I don't like this casting choice. I feel like they could have done something else. All right, so there was that, and then there was a ton of backlash, like I was saying, right? Well, I guess Spyglass was seeing all the backlash, people getting angry on both sides, and they're like, we need another announcement. We need something else to distract them. And then the bombshell dropped that changed a lot of people. Jasmin Savoy Brown, who ends up playing Mindy, the Randy of this universe, she got announced to be coming back. And I was like, what? I did not see that. We had already gotten the confirmation that Chad, Mr. Chad Meeks from, I'm forgetting his name, Mason Gooding, great actor, nice guy. I remember jumping out of my chair in Scream 6 when I was watching it. I was like, no, they got Chad. He survived. I don't know how, but he survived, and I was happy. He was the only member of the Core 4 that got confirmed to be returning, and everybody was like, dang, that's going to be weird. Probably also going to be terrible if he dies, and none of his friends are there to mourn his loss. That'll be a waste. But it's also like, how do you have one twin without the other? Well, I guess you can't. Because Mindy is going to be there alongside her twin. I did not see this coming for the behind-the-scene reasons that, one, Jasmin Savoy Brown has been very vocal, too, about being pro-Palestine. One of the things that got Melissa Barrera fired, so kind of weird that they would fire Melissa Barrera for that, but then go back and be like, it's okay when you do it, though, so come in here, Jasmin. I'm just like, Spyglass, at this point, just send out an apology, put all this controversy aside, and let's try to enjoy this movie, because I want I want to be happy for Kevin Williamson and Sydney in this film, but it's hard to with all the behind the scenes. Either way, that was crazy. And it did also have a lot of people digging deep into the behind the scenes, turning on Jasmine. And I've said it before, people on both sides, for or against the movie, there are evil people on both sides that harass, bully, and that's just like, what are we doing? We're turning into Richies on both sides. Stop. You know? And so, there was even people who pointed out, and I thought this was kind of crazy, after the Jasmine Savoy Brown got announced and was said to be part of the movie, Melissa Barrera made a little update on her Instagram where I was like, oh, okay. Because people were saying, because we've seen in behind the scene photos, look, they're so friendly, chat, they're all there, they're all friends and whatnot. Like, Melissa Barrera's probably okay. And she understands that, it's hard to give up opportunities in Hollywood and stuff like that. And so, uh, everybody thought they'd be fine, but let me see if I can find it. Melissa, uh, Barrera. Instagram. When I saw that, I was like, oh, after the Jasmine Savoy Brown announcement came out, like an hour or two later, Melissa Burr posted this saying, people say a lot, so watch what they do. Kind of giving a little sneaky sly, it looks like, to Jasmine. Now, again, I hate playing this little gossip game and trying to guess and pick and whatnot, what's going on in celebrities' lives. We don't know, but it's just messy. And then it sucks that I used to see a Scream update, and then I could go on my timeline of all the Scream accounts I follow, and I'd see a theory, I'd see people getting excited, passionate. Now, anytime there's a Scream update, it's a fight, and it sucks that that's what the franchise has become, but it is Spyglass's fault, so who can blame them? Okay, trying to put that controversy, like I said, aside, and trying now to theorize what does this mean for the movie and what could happen. I feel like, and I don't want this, but I feel like this is where I could see it going. I think Chad will end up being the Dewey a la Scream 5 of Scream 7. What I mean by that is, if you remember this scene in Scream 5, Ghostface comes out in the hospital. Dewey's there being a hero. Tragic, horrific scene. Dewey ends up dying. And then what does that happen after Dewey dies? Sydney and Courtney Cox, Gale Weathers show up all sad. And we remember, I have a feeling that's what happened. I think Chad could die early in the movie. And if Chad dies, I mean, in the movie world, you would think Mindy, as a good sister, would definitely show up, and her having this courage, being the character she is, would be like, I'm killing him. I'm getting Ghostface. I'm getting all this. You just killed my brother. I feel like that's what's going to end up happening. I feel like that's going to be the same thing, that they're going to have Chad die, funeral, or maybe he's in the hospital. Maybe he survives again. We know the guy's got infinite lives. Maybe, and then Mindy shows up to protect and be around him in the hospital. That could be the case. I feel like that's what I could see happen. And they still have to do that little payoff that they set up in Scream 6, where Mindy is sad because she's never there for the monologue for the big villains and the reveal. We had Scream 5 and 6, and Mindy wasn't there for the unmasking. It's like, I think the writers at least want to follow through with that setup and have Mindy part of the unmasking in Scream 7. So maybe that'll happen. So I think just for that alone, I think Mindy's making it to the final scene. Whether she lives or dies by the end, who knows? But I still think it'll be sad because the core four as characters isn't there, and they became such a large part. But this also has got people going, man. It's like, could they actually be rounding up all the members of the core four? Could we see Jenna Ortega come back? There was rumors months ago that Melissa Barrera was meeting with Spyglass and some sort of thing, but then those rumors got pushed aside and said, no, that's not happening. Who knows, man? Melissa Barrera coming back would definitely finally shut up all this drama, and we could just focus on the movie. But until then, I understand why people are speaking out. So it was just a messy day to be a Scream fan, man. I was just looking at the behind the scenes and then also trying to theorize as a movie and a fan. So much stuff was going on. It was wild. And it's been interesting to see what happens. So we'll see. People say Mindy should die. I know a lot of people don't like Mindy. And you know what? I will say, it's not even Jasmine Savoy Brown's fault. They made Mindy too much of the meta character where she's breaking the fourth wall and saying things like F this franchise, or giving her scenes where she's making the rules. Those scenes felt so forced in Scream 6. They didn't feel as natural as when Randy would give it. I did like when she did the rules in Scream 5, but in Scream 6, the rules felt a little too forced. And so I hope they kind of lay back, and maybe Kevin Williamson will know what to do with the character in that sense. But hey, man, Scream 7 news, messy tea everywhere. I need to know your guys' theories and thoughts, and how you're feeling about Scream with all this going on. And are you as shocked as me with some of these announcements, man? Because I definitely was. That was a lot to talk about there. Okay.